As we know, Donald Trump is a polarizing figure. He's largely a controversial figure. He's embroiled in many legal controversies. As you and I sit here right now, he's actually in a courtroom in Manhattan. So why is Doral doing so well?
So yeah, I think it's worth noting that Trump has been out of the spotlight a little bit since he, lost his reelection bid in 2020. He hasn't been in the news every single day, and so that sort of, if that is the reason why his revenues weren't doing so well while he was president, that effect may have fallen away a little bit. But I think there's also a lot of sort of big trends in the industry that are helping Doral do really well, helping buoy Doral's, revenues and sales and profits and all those kinds of things. Um, and like I said, we're going to talk about that. But the first big thing is golf. The golf industry is just doing phenomenally. Over the past 20 years, you've seen sort of a shrinking in the supply of golf courses. They built too many in the 90s, and then there's been a kind of a correction. And then in more recently, post-pandemic, you've seen a lot more millennials getting into golf. You see, young people getting into alternative golf options like Top Golf, and then that leads people into trying out the regular golf on actual golf courses. And you also have, again, you've got this restricting supply, you've got more people golfing, you've also got hybrid work, enabling people to spend more time away from the office. Maybe they're spending some of that time on the golf course. All these things are combining. It's a really, really good time to be a golf course or golf club owner.
Good time to be a golf course owner, but have his other clubs benefited from the same financial boom, the same circumstances that Doral has?
Absolutely. We are estimating that his other network of golf courses, his Trump National courses, which are really on the high end of the golf market, he's got 13 courses across the United States and Europe, and those have gone up about $60 million over the past year in terms of value. That goes from $310 million to $370 million, so a big boost for them.
When you're talking about real estate, something that can make or break real estate is three things: location, location, location. So, how does the location of Doral impact its success here?
Yeah, South Florida is hot, and it's not just the humidity. So the South Florida real estate market is just booming right now. Lots of people moving to Florida, of course. That's been true for the past 50 years, and it's true now more than ever. Additionally, I talked to one expert who told me that you've kind of got a restrictive land situation in South Florida, because you've got this very narrow strip of land between the Everglades on one side and the Atlantic Ocean on the other. And, they're starting to fill up the land. There's not much more to use. So for a big sprawling resort like Doral, you got 4 golf courses, this big sprawling hotel and resort complex. For all of these things combined, all that land is just going up, up, up in value. So that's definitely helping boost Doral as well.
As you mentioned, Doral really is a sprawling resort. There's a couple of golf courses, amongst other things like hotels. Is the rest of the business, aside from the golf courses, doing well?
Yes, we see that his hotel is doing well. We see in documents that these are documents that came out in the fraud trial. We see revenues climbing year over year, over and over and over again on his hotel, on his food and beverage business, and of course on that golf side of business. And those are really the big chunks that we're talking about when it comes to sort of where's the money coming from for the RAL. So yes, doing very, very well. And I think it's notable. I talked to some hotel industry experts who told me high-end resorts and high-end hotels are still growing in terms of their, in terms of month-to-month revenues. They're still doing pretty well. Some of the other, lower-end hotels have seen a bit of a reduction in growth and even some contraction in recent months and in the past year or so. But Doral and other high-end resorts seem to be the exception.
A lot remains to be seen when we're talking about Donald Trump and looking forward to the next year, next few months. As we said, he's facing quite a few legal hurdles. He's also his party's presumptive nominee. And as you said earlier, Doral didn't do as well when Donald Trump was president. So is there any bad news on the horizon right now when it comes to Doral?
There's nothing specific that Doral needs to watch out for, but I think there's a couple of different things. First, as you mentioned, there's this X factor with Donald Trump, right? There's just this idea that he kind of brings an unpredictability to every business that he owns and every situation that he's in. So who's to say how the Doral is going to do if he's the next president? We actually don't know, and it's kind of hard to say. Additionally, you have some other larger factors. If we have a cooling economy, we're getting further away from that post-pandemic stimulus period. we might start to see a cooling of interest in those high-end resorts as well. And then South Florida also, I said it's booming, but it's also got its own challenges. In particular, following a number of big hurricanes and just the climate change is getting worse and these kinds of things. Insurance in South Florida is starting to get really, really unaffordable, and that's really hitting the real estate market there. It's really starting to bite. So the combination of all these different things, Doral has a number of possible hurdles on the horizon that it needs to consider.
So then, to your point, what's next for Doral?
The Trump Organization has proposed an expansion of the resort. They've talked about replacing two of the hotel rooms, two of the hotel buildings, shrinking the hotel room capacity by about a third, but then really densifying that area. So instead of replacing these big sprawling hotel buildings with some very high density, thousands of potential residential units. And those could be really, really valuable because he could rent them and he could sell them. And that could be really useful. And then he also wants to develop some more of that space into commercial space, retail space, event space. All these kinds of things are potential it's a big investment, right? But potential future revenue stream for the club.
I do want to talk about the politics of Florida and how that plays in here specifically. Since Florida is now a red state, does that help Trump's businesses? And overall, does the Trump name help or hurt his properties?
Yeah, I mean, Florida is very definitely a red trending state. You've got Governor Ron DeSantis winning by massive margins there in 2022. Trump has won the state by more than I think expected, and more than some other swing states that he's competed in. I think in some very deep blue areas, take a look at New York, for example. We've seen that Trump condos don't sell as well, according to an investigation by the New York Times. They're selling for lower values than comparable condos without his name on them, for example. I don't know if that effect is going to hold in Florida. Again, this red trending swing state that we're dealing with here. I do think that it's notable. I talked to one expert who told me that Trump's resorts, Trump's courses, they're kind of conservative safe spaces to some extent. At this point, if you go to one of those, if you're eating a steak dinner at one of the restaurants at Doral, or playing golf on the course, you're probably not going to hear someone complaining about Trump, or complaining about how crazy Trump is, or how could anyone vote for Donald Trump, that kind of thing. You're not going to hear that because, for the large part, it's conservatives who are going to these clubs at this point. So this could be again, kind of a business opportunity for them.
Kyle Mullins, per usual, great conversation. Thanks for your reporting.
Always great to be here, Brittany. Thanks for having me.